It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas, home of the world's largest race and sportsbook and the Super Contest.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
It is the Superbook Tuesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. I'm Dave Cokin. Ralph Michaels is here. Ari Platinum is here. And Tuesday, Superbook USA, that means Jeff Sherman at Golf Odds. He'll be with us in a little while. And, I think there's a little bit to talk about with Jeff. And one of the things we will talk about with Jeff is the gigantic, miracle, unbelievable, come-from-behind rally in the NBA tonight, or last night, I should say. The Clippers were down 31 points to the Warriors. That's it. Forget about it. 2-0. What the hell happened there? The Warriors did not play in the second half. The Clippers did. And one of the greatest comebacks in the history of the NBA recorded by the LA Clippers as they even up the series with the Warriors at 1 game apiece. Absolute shocker, Ralph.
Yeah, one of the sites had a live line of plus 1750. So,
which actually was a crappy line.
Yeah, it was 100 to 1,
Yeah.
100,000 to 1 were the odds anyone would come back. But I wasn't part of that, unfortunately. I was asleep, in fact. I saw the score, and I never even turned it back on.
I had no idea what was going on because I barely watched the NBA anyway. And I saw that score at the half, and, well, okay. And then all of a sudden you see the Warriors. I'm seeing little things on Twitter where it's like, hey, the Warriors are getting back, the Clippers are getting back in this game. It's like, well, they just make a little run. Turned out to be more than a little run. And you wonder what's going to happen in Game 3 now because, the first thing that comes to mind is that the Warriors are going to be really ticked off about this, and they're not going to be taking any minutes off. You have to think they went on cruise control last night. And again, I didn't see it. Yeah. And I'm sure Lou Williams and the other Clippers did a phenomenal job, but the only way you're getting back in against a clearly superior team down 31 is if they go to sleep.
You have the Cousins injury. Cousins is now out for the playoffs.
Right. Yep.
And that could have something to do to deflate a team. And, if you're even and Cousins gets hurt, you don't think anything of it. But when you have a big lead and Cousins get hurt, you tend to, I would think, shut it off and think about him. And, it gets in your head and all of a sudden, boom.
Well, I think it might be boom the other way tomorrow. And I'll be interested to see when we talk to Jeff if the early money is pouring in on the Warriors because I think the public will react just the way I said. I
thought about betting it as soon as it opened, and I said, that line's only going to go up. Even if you're not a Warriors fan, you would think it has to go up once it got posted.
Saw a line this morning on Mike Trout, I think minus 175 to win the AL MVP. I wonder when Christian Yelich is going to become a favorite as far as the odds go to win the National League MVP. Another huge night for the reigning MVP in the National League. Yelich, 3 home runs, 7 runs batted in, as he leads the Brewers to a 10-7 victory over the Cardinals. You can't get this guy out. He's just that good.
Yesterday we talked about Yelich in that first series and what he did, and now, the Brewers are, 8-1 the last night against St. Louis. We'll see if that could continue to be in their heads.
Just for the heck of it, Yelich also threw in a diving catch last night.
I didn't see that.
He is doing it all right now. It's almost as if the two leaders in each league are now head and shoulders above everybody else. And that's not to take away from a guy like Jose Altuve, for instance, who's a great player for the Astros and is on a tear of his own right now. But Trout's obviously the best player in the league. And I think at this point, you're going to have a tough time arguing against Yelich as being simply the best player in the National League.
Can't argue, period. And he does it in important games, too. It's not like he's putting up those stats with nobody on. They're meaningful hits in meaningful games.
Big game tonight, obviously, at the T-Mobile, the Sharks and Golden Knights. Game 4 of their NHL best-of-7 opening round series. And the way things are going, you can make an argument right now that the Golden Knights might have the best road to the Stanley Cup, but they got to take care of business tonight. We will look at that as the WagerTalk marquee matchup later in the show. We'll also talk about it with Jeff Sherman. Meanwhile, lots of other games to cover on tonight's docket. Let's get it rolling with the MJ Christensen Ford 4.
1, 2, bring it to the phone.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sports Lines 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4.
We We started off with the Mets and Phillies battling it out. A crazy one between these two last night. Looks like these National League East games, except the ones involving the Marlins, are going to be life and death struggles all year long. That was a really exciting game last night. They'll do it again tonight. Steven Matz on the mound for the Mets. Nick Pivetta will toe the rubber for the Phillies. Phillies are very small favorites in this game. If you're just looking at the starting pitching, I think you've got to give an edge to the Mets and a healthy Steven Matz at this point. He has been outstanding out of the gate. Nick Pivetta has not been good for the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Pivetta, I mean, you can't judge an ERA this early in the year, but when it's 9.45, I guess you can.
A lot of hits.
Yeah. If you have an over 2 whip at any point in the time, you look at Matt's 19 Ks in 16.2 innings, and, we talked about how the Mets bullpen's their problem. Well, I'll tell you what. Philly played 14 innings on Sunday and 11 innings yesterday. The Mets didn't have that extra inning game on Sunday. All of a sudden, the Mets bullpen may not be the worst in this game tonight.
No, and I think Diaz will be available if they need a ninth inning guy. They have committed to using him as just a closer only this year, which is why he didn't come in a critical situation last night of the 8th with 2 out. They didn't use Diaz, which seemed a little strange. The only thing they have to do is decide when to warm him up. Why would you have him warming up in the 8th inning if you're not going to use him in a bases-loaded situation? They didn't. They got away with it. And we'll see what happens as far as tonight's game goes. There is some money showing on the Mets in that game, but the Phillies are still about minus 115-ish. The Cardinals and Brewers will continue their series tonight. Jack Flaherty, who looks like he's going to be the ace on this St. Louis staff, and he will go against Woodruff tonight as the Cardinals take on the Brewers. And you can look at the matchup and say, well, this favors Flaherty. The problem is the Cardinals can't beat the Brewers.
Yeah, I think I put Flaherty in the same spot as Bauer was after getting swept against Kansas City yesterday. I think Flaherty's got to prove he's the ace to step up to stop the streak to their opponent. I would bet on him and the way he's pitched this year.
Josh Hader did get used by the Brewers last night, but it was only 13 pitches, and now we have seen a pattern where they are willing to use him on back-to-back days if he's not stretched out the prior night. So you've got to figure that if this is close late and the Brewers are trying to protect the lead, that Hader will be available.
And I think you should. If you're crushing an opponent and you have a chance to put another notch in your belt against them, I absolutely would use them.
Well, yeah, especially in a divisional battle because one basically means 2 in terms of the standings.
No question.
I mean, it's just more important to win these games than it is in non-divisional games. At Yankee Stadium tonight, the best rivalry in baseball renews. The Red Sox and Yankees battle it out. The Red Sox made a personnel change today. They cut ties with Blake Swihart. He was designated for assignment, and I don't think he'll get through waivers. I think somebody will pick up Swihart. So he is done with the Red Sox. Sandy Leon brought back up, and he will be in the lineup tonight catching Chris Sale. And this was clearly done as a move to help the pitching staff. The thought process being Leon can't hit a lick. He's just a terrible offensive player. Still will never figure out how he had that streak a couple of years ago where he just went absolutely nuts for about 30 games. And it's just like, what is going on here? But he reverted to Sandy Leon form, and he can't hit. But he's a really good receiver. And I think the Red Sox are looking at this and saying, look, we can get by with Vasquez, but Swihart just isn't connecting with the pitching staff. We need to have a guy who does. We've got enough offense. We need run prevention. So Sandy Leon is with the Red Sox once again, and we'll see if that straightens out Chris Sale, who is having all kinds of issues in the early season. Velocity is way down, and Sale really sounds like he's lost his confidence. He needs a good performance tonight. The good news for him is, yeah, he's going against the Yankees, but these are like the AAA version of the Yankees almost. They've got so many guys out. You've got a really weird-looking roster right now for the Yankees, which is dotted with minor leaguers. And James Paxton hasn't been that good to start the season either.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do with this game. The Marlins are third worst in Major League Baseball, minus 7.6 units. Second last, the Yankees, minus 11.7. Boston, minus 12.4. Both of those 4 units clear, being last and second last. Sale has a lifetime 1.61 against the Yankees.
Well,
so at least that.
But which Sale is that?
Right. That was the old Sale. Two amazing things. Red Sox have not won a series. And I read this today at stats.com, I believe. The Yankees are 6-9, but they've had a lead in 14 of those 15 games.
Nothing's going right for them.
I mean, to have a lead in 14 games is amazing to be 6-9.
It's really amazing. And Tampa Bay is building up a big lead. Now, by the way, the Rays losing Blake Snell for probably 10 days. They'll probably miss a start. an off-the-field accident where he broke a toe. And it's about the only thing that's gone wrong for the Rays so far this season. Pirates and Tigers tonight, and an interesting matchup here. As Musgrove on the mound for Pittsburgh, he has looked really good so far. And Matt Boyd is having the early season breakout for the Tigers. Ralph, he has been outstanding for Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, 29 Ks in 17 innings.
Woo.
I mean, just incredible. And, when you're looking about Boyd, Pittsburgh is last in the major leagues slugging against lefties.
Yep,
they have not done
terrible.
anything against lefties at all. They haven't had many opportunities, 100 plate appearances. But to me, I mean, Detroit is clearly the side I'd have to back today.
I'm feeling that could be a low-scoring game, but I'm not much for playing unders in Major League Baseball, so I left it alone. Time to bring in Jeff Sherman, and boy, is there a lot to talk about with Jeff. And everybody's talking about the Clippers-Warriors shocker, but we've got one in soccer that Ralph alerted me to. What is going on with Juventus? This is a big favorite that they're going down, Jeff.
Yeah, they just got eliminated from the UEFA Champions League. Ended up losing outright at home to Ajax, so they won't be moving on.
How big a favorite were they?
Today's match, they actually weren't that large. They were -0.5, -150. So we did get a lot of public money supporting them, people thinking they were just going to win the match at home. But we did really well on that result. But it wasn't like the Barcelona match, where Barcelona was a $3 favorite and a goal and a half on the spread.
But was Juventus one of the favorites to win the Champions League?
They were one of the lower ones. Yeah,
Okay.
They were 7-2 coming into today's match. So we had Ajax at 10-1, and with Juventus crashing out, I was just adjusting the futures, and Barcelona's a pretty solid favorite at 3-2 right now.
Well, that's probably bigger than what happened in Oakland last night on an international scale. But stateside, it's one of the biggest shockers I've ever seen in the NBA playoffs. Not that the Clippers, I mean, they're down 31 points. It's like they're like I don't know what the actual true odds on them coming back were. But, I mean, I just still can't believe that happened.
Yeah, I know. We do the in-play wagering, and I don't know at what point that they yanked the money line on it, but I'm pretty sure we didn't have one up when they were down by 31. So that's and especially when you think of Golden State at home in the playoffs to blow something like that, that's astonishing.
It really is. We'll get back to the NBA in a little bit because we've got games to talk about tonight. But let's get back to the weekend first and talk about what happened in Augusta. An absolutely amazing tournament, massive ratings. I mean, massive ratings on Sunday with Tiger in the hunt. Just shows you how important he is to the game and how he just electrifies the audience, and he wins. And boy, is this big for golf moving forward.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, it's incredible what he did to come back from where he was after the surgeries, the time away, the results he was showing on the course, and to get back to the point he is. And I think this was his best major win he's had, because look at the competition he was up against now as opposed to when he was winning them years ago, when there was a handful of guys that realistically could win. And golf's never been at a better place right now. So to beat these young guys, it's just unbelievable. And
in the process, it means that a lot of Tiger props that they kind of just gone by the wayside. I don't even know if they were up anymore. Well, they're all up now. We got a whole new page of Tiger stuff available to bet on.
Yeah, I had some prior to the Masters. How many different numbers of career wins. You could bet over under 14.5, 15.5, 16.5, all the way up to breaking Jack's record. And I have an end date by his 50th birthday in 2025. So we have to have an end date to that and just not leave it open for 20 years. But we paid off the 14.5, obviously, because he won his 15th major. And I readjusted the other prices. So if you think he's going to break Jack's record by the time he's 50 years old, you can get 10-1 odds on it right now.
Meanwhile, we've got more majors coming up, and this is talk about things working out. The PGA has always been kind of the fourth major, if you will. It's the last one on the schedule, and the chances of a Grand Slam being in play are remote. It's the one that gets the least attention, and it's played on a different course every year. Now, with the new calendar for professional golf, the PGA has moved to the second spot on the calendar. And that means the U.S. Open and the British will still follow that. That makes the PGA more compelling now that Tiger's won. So I've got to assume this will be the biggest volume PGA event, a PGA tournament that you've ever had.
Oh, I don't even think it'll be close. I mean, I put it up Sunday as they were finishing up. The money was already coming in, supporting everyone, all the popular golfers. And I would say that we'll